And welcome to the Survival Report podcast. Survival Report podcast, some are available at survivalreportpodcast.com in a strictly audio type format. Some of the podcasts are available also on YouTube at our YouTube channel, survivalreport.net, survivalreport.net, and survivalreportpodcast.com, and we continue to place a few of these also on YouTube again, guys, so if you want to hear them all, a lot of the older ones are archived at survivalreportpodcast.com at our forums, and as always, visit the forums at survivalandpreparedness.com, survivalandpreparedness.com. Once again, would like to thank the sponsors that keep the podcast here going, keep our efforts with this going, because it does cost some time, it does cost some money. And a shout goes out to our friends at the North Georgia Coal Mullen Society. The North Georgia Coal Mullen Society. Saw a handful of their folks at the show this last weekend. Always good to catch up with them. Bill, Todd, Jeff, and John. And been many new additions to their group up there as well, too. And the Central Florida Coal Mullen Society. The Central Florida Coal Mullen Society. Some nice folks that started getting that organized back late last fall. Met some of them down in DeLand at a great survival show, Life Changes Be Ready Expo that happened a few months back, that happened in January. So as always, we thank those folks that help keep the podcast going. And as always, our sponsor is jrhenterprises.com, jrhenterprises.com, since 1992, a name you can trust in the preparedness and survival market. Night vision, thermal imaging devices, medical kits, long-term food storage, grain grinders, the ultimate survivalist wood cook stove, gas masks, and current high-quality M96 NATO threaded filters for gas masks, various things like that on the web, again at jrhenterprises.com. All right, guys and gals listening, today we're going to talk about survival hand washing, but it's not going to have anything at all to do with soap and water. All right. As you know, if you've seen me speak at any of these expos, conventions, Southern Readiness Conference a couple weekends back, Charlotte PrepCon a couple times, where else? The DeLand Life Changes Be Ready Expo, things like that, thing this last weekend in Gainesville, Georgia. You know that in the talks there and the talks on the podcast and things like that, we go a little deeper than just, give me a list, of stuff to buy. And we encourage people to think for themselves and all that good stuff as well, too. And to go through the mental exercises of doing that versus just taking a list probably regurgitated from someone else and trying to base your planning on that. Now, question came up this last weekend in relation to food storage. Did a talk on food storage down there in relation to, a new person asked essentially, okay, well, I haven't been, storing food for 27 years like you have. I haven't been, eating storage food for, 20 years, whatever. How do I know guidelines, enough, quantities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Guys, when I bash the lists and list of lists, mindset, it's not so much to not make lists or to not use them as guidelines. It's to essentially get you out of the thinking that someone else can do the work or should do the work for you. So it's very important to realize that. As a guideline, sure, yeah, no doubt. Mormons, whoever, that's fine. Practice that stuff. You'll find out what does work, what doesn't work. Now is the time to do that. Now is the time to figure out Oh man, I didn't even know I had an allergy to azuki beans or whatever. Better you find that out now when you can go to the dock, when you can adjust your food storage accordingly. Then, in the PAW, post-apocalyptic world, PAW, P.A.W., when there is no dock, you have to try to treat it on your own. And you might have, 6,000 pounds of azuki beans there and nothing else, So, again, we always stress survival and bad situations should not be the time for OJT. What is OJT? Well, I was in high school in the 80s and things like that, and one thing that they stressed a hell of a lot was what they called on-the-job training, or OJT. And that was, where you went to, business class and all that good stuff, and on the side, and you learned typing, or you went to shop, or, home ec, or whatever else. And it was kind of like learning what you might have for a job while you were still in school. And they called it on-the-job training. And, of course, it was nothing at all like that, because you just submitted, fake reports and, charts and income statements and that to your teacher. It wasn't like, you would get fired or something if they were incorrect. But the point is, on-the-job training. Well, our survival, if something really happens, should not be, that's not when we need to be training. All right, that's when we need to apply the things that we've trained on over the years. On-the-job training is not a plan for survival. All right, we need to be experiencing these things now and adjusting accordingly. So yeah, lists and all that good stuff, I bash them a lot. I bash them for one simple reason, is because to a lot of people, it's the easy button answer. And they skip then the mental exercise of going through and thinking through these things for themselves. And that's a very, very, very important part of your preparedness and survival plan, is being able to think for yourself, being able to adjust as things happen. All right. So a little aside on that. Hand washing. Survival hand washing, again, and this is going to have absolutely nothing to do with soap and water, nor is it going to have anything to do with baby wipes or hoo-haws or whatever they're called, or, making, soap or any sort of thing like that. What am I talking about? I am talking about one hand washes the other type of concept. I'm talking about getting along to move along, to go along. We've touched on this a little bit in the past on old podcasts, but it most definitely needs to be reiterated a little bit more now. Especially a lot in the last year. Been doing more of these shows, been going to more events, more, prepper and new survivalist type events, some various medical classes, various things like that. A lot of people don't understand the concept of, one hand washes the other. Well, what that's always kind of meant to me was, hey, you know what? You take care of me, and I'll damn sure take care of you. And a lot of folks don't understand that. And again, I'd say a lot of newer folks don't understand that, but a lot of folks that, claim to have been around for 100 years don't understand it either. I think it's a personality type. I think it has a lot to do with self-aggrandizement, various things like that. But I can tell you from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint, this concept does work. You need to take care of people who are taking care of you. All right, what do I mean by that? I mean things like showing respect to, whether they're, the King Daddy Mel Tappan of survival, or if you're talking about survival and preparedness type stuff, or whether it's, Hoist Gracie if you're into martial arts, or, something like that. Or Sonny P or something, Gabe Suarez or somebody if it's the shooting realm. You need to show respect to people around you, to people that you train with, to people that are helping you. And it's, in general, a good idea to do that to everyone. It's hard on the net right now, and in the current culture, especially with people that watch a lot of regular TV, we turn it on when we go to a hotel or something like that, and guys, it's just, bicker, 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 fight, I'm better than you, you suck, I'm better, blah, 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 blah. And, God, that gets old. Not too long ago, I was at a abbreviated, 2-hour type of class, and I'm not going to embarrass the people by saying what it was about because it would give them away, but it was a husband and wife team teaching a certain specific survival type subject. And to be quite honest, they made complete fools of themselves because they bickered at each other the entire time of the short class. There's no reason to do that. You look like a fool if you cannot, it's like I say in the seminars, if you cannot work with your wife and your family now, you got a hell of a lot bigger problems than the stuff hitting the fan. Okay. And that's true, guys. That's important. If you can't work with your wife for a 2-hour or work with your husband for a very brief 2-hour period to present some materials and not, snap at each other and practically be yelling at each other in front of all of the students in the last, during the last 30 minutes of it, you got bigger problems than preparing for the stuff hitting the fan. Okay. You need to be able to show respect and real respect, not and honor each other, not the saccharine sweet BS, type of thing like that. I'm going to give you some examples and how this, and the names and faces and dates have, been changed to, protect the guilty, shall we say, to give you some concepts of how the outcome varies in this sort of thing. You see, because when you treat me well, I want to treat you well. When you treat me like dirt, and understand I'm using the me and the you in a general sense. I'm not talking about anything specific to me. And of course, I may or may not know you, all right? And you may or may not know me. So understand I'm talking in a general sense. But when you have treated me right, I want to treat you right. When I have treated you right and courteous and shown you a little respect, in general, people want to reciprocate on that. It's like the sayings, the old saying says, a smile is contagious. And, guys, if you're into any of the covert work and things like that and what we like to call nowadays social engineering, a smile at the right time can calm nerves, can, get you in places you might not have been able to get in, get you things that you might need. A lot more than threats and, being the jerk that screams at the cashier at Walmart to get their way. Again, that's not going to work in the paw, guys, in the post-apocalyptic world. Somebody's going to shoot you in the face. And probably, stand over you and pee on your body and laugh about it or something, like that, all right? It's not gonna be a way to function in a bad situation where there's a, breakdown of law and order and all that good stuff. So I'm going to give you some examples here of what I'm talking about. All right. For example, and we're not going to get too specific, but I've been to, for example, a lot of events lately, all right? Gave you a little overview of that. Two very different two events that covered the same exact, genre of topics and were designed for the same market and the whole nine yards, but had two very different people leading them, promoting them. All right. One was very thankful, was offering things to speakers and vendors, and, we'll pay for your hotel, and, we'll get you taken care of on this, and come the night before, and we're going to feed you guys at this, quite awesome steak dinner, and, treat your family well, your young children well, honor and respect one another. And you know what? It went back and forth. All right. Great feeling there. Great working together concept. Did I agree with everything that other speakers were saying? Probably not. Did they agree with everything that I was saying? Probably not. You know what? Some of them are my buddies. I like them. I'd help them out, have helped them out, and hopefully they would do the same for me. Awesome guys, awesome people there speaking. Loved them. Everybody worked together. The feeling was there. We're going to work together. One hand's going to wash the other. The promoter did his job. The promoter was, give me feedback. How can we, make the show better, show you respect, show you honor, that sort of thing. And that was reciprocated by everybody that I saw. You never heard anybody complain. You never heard anybody. And you know what? Attendance wasn't, off the charts. Sales were not off the charts. But it was an awesome event, and I would go back tomorrow, and I would do anything for those people. Why? Because of the general attitude, the general respect, the honor that they gave to everyone. You want to reciprocate. We naturally want to reciprocate. We always we have a little saying around our family. I responded in kind. What does that mean? That means if you come in and you're, pissed because you had a bad day, or, something didn't go right and you're a little jerky, well, probably overlook it once or twice, and then I'm going to respond in kind. Why? Because maybe that will show you that, hey, he was cool the first couple times, or she was cool the first couple times, and now he kind of snapped back at me, because nobody wants to hear that crap. All right, and oftentimes it's like, oh, wow, I was acting like that. Hey, sorry about that. Here, give me a hug, give me a kiss, whatever. All right, that works out, obviously minus the hugs and kisses and everything. That works out on a larger scale as well, whether it's in business, whether it's in, interpersonal relationships amongst a group and various things like that. These things work the same, guys. Show respect, and you will in general get respect back. You have to kind of know yourself. You have to kind of know how you are received from other people. People, I'm very blunt on the net, and oftentimes, and a lot of people are like, they come to a camp out, or they see me talk at an event and come back and, hang out and talk with us at the booth a little bit, and it's like, wow, you're nothing at all like I thought you were going to be. Well, think about it in relation to the fact that you have, on the net, you have what do you have? You have the guys on YouTube. Oftentimes, not everybody, but there's a small percentage of, that guy on YouTube. And that's either, the idiot environmentalist that knows nothing and has never grown any food, that freaks out on you because you said you had to spray your trees to save your trees, and then comes with all these outrageous things, like they invented the question mark. I mean, this comes with crazy stuff, or the 12-year-old kid that he gets on your channel and just starts cussing, or, you had a slip of the tongue and you said something backwards, and they're like, oh, this guy doesn't know anything, when you present on the fly, sometimes your tongue gets tied. I'm sorry. I apologize about that. Damn me for being human. So you have to understand where people are coming from sometimes with things as well. All right, and why they act a certain way. But in general, if you show respect and you can correct somebody and you can correct them in a nice way, okay, so one show that, and I'm talking about, that was the show in Gastonia, North Carolina, a couple weekends back. Awesome show, good folks there. I would drive up there tomorrow on my own dime to help them do whatever they needed to do. Because they're good people and they took care of people. And you know what? You can kind of sense and tell someone's heart in this. And their hearts were all in the right place. And, that's, you want to help people like that. You want to, you want to help people like that. You want to be around people like that. All right. Then there was another event that, happened in the last 6 months also, where the fellow was really just a clown that was attempting to put it on, and he treated vendors, speakers, and attendees like dirt, and was wrong on pretty much everything he said, from stupid things like setup time to yelling at attendees that to come and sit down for a talk. That you're not required to sit down and talk during sit down and listen during someone's talk. It's not, this isn't kindergarten, guys. The fella pissed off everyone, to be blunt. And had he had the smallest bit of discernment, he would have picked that out very early on. Well, he appeared to have basically none. And, honored no one, respected no one, joked and crude jokes and things like that with people he didn't really know. People that I have met and hung out with here and there for a couple of years now who I wouldn't make crude jokes like that to, and this was the first this fella had even met those people. So understanding your who you're working with or who you're talking to is a big part of things as well too. Maybe that maybe that guy's wife doesn't want to hear you making crude comments or catcalling at women or something nutty like that. Understand that. It's not hard to read that sort of thing in people, guys. You just have to, number one, take your head out of your butt, and, number two, have, the smallest bit of discernment. Essentially, what was the difference between these two? Well, one is absolutely bust, the latter, show. It's a joke, and no one would ever do that again that had half a brain. The other one was a successful event, and they'll do it again in the future, and they'll have people flooding to come, and they'll have vendors and speakers flooding to come. I know I've already told them on the way home, hey, anything you need to do, I'm there. You need help, you need this, that, the other, I'm there. You guys are awesome, blah-de-blah-de-blah. The other one, people left early from and nobody hung around for, and the guy was extremely abrasive to everyone. And it was just, he didn't know how to go along to get along. He didn't know how to respect others, to honor anybody else, that sort of thing. And even though just number one, the foot was put forward by speakers and vendors and everything coming there, that was them honoring him. It was a first time show. It was nothing that nobody knew this guy, and yet they took a chance. That is part of it. Okay. Same thing like in business. Got a couple of similar tales here in business, oddly enough. One fellow a while back, was basically started off, never met the man, started off, give me a price quote on, 5 pretty high dollar, items. Okay. How soon you looking at doing this? How'd you like to pay? Let me know these things, and, we'll definitely sharpen the pencil for you. He emailed back, I'll do it today, and, pay with the Visa, whatever. Okay, awesome. You're ready to do it right now. Here's your quote. Then basically, a little bit over cost, essentially. cut down the price several $1,000s, off of a price that was pretty good already. All right. 15, 20 emails later, questioning everything, jump through this hoop, jump through that hoop. But no, I'm a serious buyer. You just, throw this in, throw that in, jump through this hoop, jump through that hoop, and, this stipulation, that stipulation, blah, 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 blah. Now, the way that deal was set up, I still would have made some money. But the time involved and the consternation and the frustration involved from dealing with this person who was also very abrasive, who was also, extremely demanding, extremely frustrating type, I walked away from it. I said, listen, I don't think we need to do business. Oh, why? What's the problem? Oh, can't you fulfill this? I've fulfilled 2 similar orders yesterday from people who didn't even ask for a discount, but got one anyway, oddly enough. Imagine that. Who didn't, take six probably hours or more total time of my time and made me, super frustrated with the way they were acting. Okay, so walked away from that. Would have made a little cash on that. Now, guy that, let's say there's this fella, guy that met maybe 10 years ago, came to some of our first public campouts down here. Nice fella. I love him and his wife. They're almost like family to us anymore. One of the few people I've ever let come to my place and helped them pack food and, done a lot of things for them at cost or under cost, and will continue to do so. Why? Because they're good folks, because they have honored us, we have honored them. When we go out to dinner with them, you probably have friends like this. You know the deal, where it's like, you almost have to fight to who's going to pay and who, for the whole meal for the both of them. It's not about, well, here's my 6 quarters and I want you to pay your 50 cents, or whatever. Good folks, they honored us, we honored them, we show them respect, they show us respect. To be honest, started off a little shaky with the guy because I wasn't used to his kind of trust but verify, type of way he interacted. Once I understood what he did for a living, it came clear to me. So instead of, I could have jumped on him early on and said, oh, you're kind of coming off like a jerk, da-da-da-da-da-da. I didn't do that. I thought about it. I talked to him more. What do you do for a living? Oh, okay. He works in worked in an industry where a lot of people probably lied to him about a lot of stuff in order to get money. And so, of course, he was cautious, because he was used to that sort of thing. And, he was used to a situation where everybody was on the take. Okay, I can understand that. My industry's kind of cutthroat for the most part as well, too. All right, I get this guy now. I understand this guy. Pay him a little respect. He pays me some respect back and forth. And the relationship built from there. Now, that fella, he got, essentially a similar, the exact same device that this other fella was looking for. And then keep in mind, the other fella was looking to buy 5 of them at one time, and, would have been, like I said, a fair amount of profit for us. This fella bought the same exact thing. Now, he only bought one, but he bought another device as well, too. And you know what? He got them for cost. Not only that, I threw in some extra stuff on top of that. Why? What's the difference between those two people? One guy, his approach sucked. The guy that was trying to buy 5. And it wasn't just email. Talk to him on the phone a couple times, because after a while you go, this guy isn't for real. Yeah, give me a call, we'll discuss it. And he called a couple times, and, on the phone, he knew how to play the game. The guy was in real estate or something like that. He knew the right things to say. He knew the negotiation tactics, threw a little bit of hardball my way, which is a game I typically do not play. Because I think that ruins a relationship. And I'm about having a relationship with people if you're going to do business with them, not just, kick them in the nuts, steal their wallet and run, which is oftentimes the case with hardball type negotiations. And people always remember that. People always remember that you did them wrong. Like I said, people will forget that you beat them down in the schoolyard when you were 6, but they'll remember that you loaned them $5, or you never paid back the $5 they borrowed from you in 1973. Okay. People always remember money. Money to a lot of people equals what? Equals respect. And so you have to approach things right with people. That's essentially the entire thing I'm talking about here. Another example would be a couple of gals. I think they've been lifelong friends and all that good stuff, and we haven't known them as long. But they have done the same thing. They approached right. We've been helping them. They've been telling other people about our company and our forums and this, that, and the other. And it's that same kind of concept. It's the one hand washing the other. And I saw them recently. They bought some things, and here, I'm throwing stuff in their bag. Wait, no, we didn't pay for that. No, you guys can use these. Do you have any of this? No, but let us pay for that. No, it's cool. Why? Because they have honored me, they have respected me, and I want to show that back. All right? That's the hand washing things, guys. That's when somebody does something for you, whether it's help promote your book, or help promote a class you got going, or event, or whatever. You pay them some respect back. You pay them some honor back. You don't just expect that sort of thing. You do it back a little bit as well, guys. Or if somebody's advertising with you, or showing up at your event or something like that. The general rule is you try to give people a little bit more than what they deserve or what they paid for. And again, I'm talking about decent people, like these people I'm talking about, okay? Not, some guy that's just a jerk to everybody around him and is abrasive to everybody and is just, completely inept socially. People like that are not going to make it. Guys, I know how to, start fire with the bowdrill, and, I know how to, make a, 800 or, even made an 1100-yard shot one time, a couple of them actually. But, and that's important. And yeah, I can, drag you to the ground and choke you to sleep, and I can, do any number of other related survival and fighting type skills. But the most important skills we're probably going to need to know is how to interact with other people. Ooh, I sounded like a goat on that, didn't I? My voice died as I was talking all weekend. Is to know how to interact with people, how to, this is going to come out wrong, but how to get what we want out of other people, but in the same token, make it a beneficial relationship between the two people. If it's just a crash and burn, you're crashing into the person and then burning them, type of thing, it's not going to last, and you're not going to last. And that's the tale of two shows thing is a perfect example of that. One set of folks, they'll go on to do great things they already have. And anybody, any speaker, any vendor would be happy to go back and help them again. And I drive 7-8 hours up there to help them tomorrow if they needed it. And then the other guy just didn't have a clue and crapped on everybody's head, and and nobody would lift a finger for him again. And he's done. He's finished. He's a boob. And that's the difference, is one knew how to take care of people. One knew how to respect and honor people. And I'm not even just talking about people who think they're somebody. I'm talking about, if you respect the 15-year-old kid that comes in and talk with them and hang out with them. And or the little old lady, from Pasadena or whatever, the nice old gal that probably will never buy anything or do anything for you. Guess what, guys? That doesn't matter. I think I remember something about, what do you do to the least of these? You've done unto me. I think I read that somewhere, And, so it's not just about, to prominent people, it's about everybody as well. I talked this last weekend about, people talking about charity, and they're going to do charity in the paw, and they're going to, and I said, well, what are you doing now? Yeah, crickets. That's what you heard. You know, these people that think they're going to do charity in Nepal, most of them aren't doing a damn thing now. You think you're going to feed the homeless in Nepal? Go feed the homeless now. We've done that. We've done that numerous times. You know, we support ministries that do that sort of thing, in word and deed and dollar. You know, you're going to do it in Nepal, but you're not doing it now? Bravo, Sierra. That ain't going to happen. You're going to look at your stuff and you're going to go, I don't have nearly as much as I need. We've eaten out of this pantry for a week, and what I thought was a year is probably 6 months. We can't give out to anybody. We can't help anybody. You see? So if you're not doing it now, you're not going to do it then. You know, get realistic. We can think we know or we can know. So, survival hand washing. Think about it, guys. Remember I told you, it ain't going to have anything to do with soap and water. We're talking about, one hand washes the other type stuff. Getting along to get along, to move along. We're out of time. I think we're actually pretty far over. Appreciate you listening, guys. These social skills, they're going to be more important, I think, than, like I said, than knowing how to make that bowdrill. That's an important skill. You need to know it. Need to know those sorts of things, but you need to know how to get along with people. Appreciate y'all listening.